man, you got the you just sent me that Kevin Hart, which was crazy, that Kevin Hart story, man. So I'll let you deal with that right quick.
Kevin Hart gets into some trouble, and it's about some 2010 tweets that he sent out, and apparently they coming off as homophobic. A guy by the name of Adam B. Very on Twitter drops on his Twitter, after seeing this Ben Farley tweet, I did search for every time Kevin Hart tweeted fag, homo, or gay. It was a lot. And he seems to have basically stopped tweeting those words after 2011, i.e. the year his first stand-up movie became a hit. Drops another thing, and the Oscar for most homophobic goes to, and he started just going on, and then the heat went on and on with Kevin Hart. He immediately started deleting tweets, getting them out the way. So what do you think about this? Is our man Kevin Hart being railroaded right now the second he seems to really gain success?
You know, it's bound to happen. We were just talking about the Meek Mill interview, and Meek Mill was kind of put in a position where he didn't really want to defend Rick Ross's statement that he made on the album, pretty much saying that on the song or whatever, referring to, a lot of people think he's referring to 6ix9ine. So there's a segment of people that when you say certain things about them, you know what I mean, and it's derogatory, you're going to have backlash, whether it was 20, 15 years ago. We're seeing now, this is the day and age of the Me Too movement. And not only that, with the social media, no matter what you put out, you know, whether you delete it, if it's out for a second, people got it and they're going to use it against you. What they're trying to do is like, you know, it's like a character thing. They want to say, you know, your character, you was like this before. What makes, you know, what makes everybody think that you changed. So, you know, and another part that I want to talk about, it was a time where homosexuals, you know, were treated. And even now, you know, they have their whole little movement. They were treated, you know, wrong for, you know, practicing homosexuality. They got a lot of rights and whatnot. So it was, we all come up in kind of a different era where people kind of attacked them and whatever. And it was kind of, you know, funny and cool just to make fun of them. But now is the tide is kind of changing. You said 2010, he got caught up, I think, you know, and just kind of just the era. Not saying that is right, you know, or wrong, but he just kind of got caught up. And, you know, if he did say it, then he's going to be held accountable, obviously, as we see right now.
Does it seem a little cynical to you when this is something that happened back in 2010? He done had 8 years of his career, probably the best 8 years that a comic has ever seen when it comes to just transitioning from stand-up to movies and then owning his own brand. So on Eddie's level, and I would probably say Eddie's level when it came to that, as far as numbers and success, maybe not as far as comedic genius, but definitely as far as success is concerned. So doesn't it seem kind of cynical that this is coming about now when he talked about his biggest fear on the stand-up for his son was to be gay and things like this, and people laughed and chuckled at all these things, and now we see because he's gaining some success, and I don't think that anybody in the context of which he was using these words throughout comedy, throughout talking to different comedians and such, because I didn't look at any of the real tweets that were going on amongst who he was talking to, but I'm almost 1,000% sure he was talking amongst the comedic community. So that being said, we all know that he wasn't really throwing anything derogatory about anyone's sexual preference in particular. He was just using a term of slang that was often used prior to it. And that's even with something what Meek Mill was alluding to on the interview, like you were saying, in defending Rick Ross's comments, how he didn't want to do it. But we all know that we said certain things to each other. We knew a sign of disrespect on a basketball court or something like that. If you wanted to get a fight started, you knew what to call people. And sometimes these derogatory terms were used, but you weren't necessarily throwing these words at a homosexual in particular, or someone who practices same-sex relationships, whatever they do, that's their business. So oftentimes that gets misconstrued, and now it's so easy to pull something up. I mean, Kevin Hart's been so busy and been so crazy, you would think that somebody on his team would have been mindful of this, but this is probably so far out of his radar that it didn't come about till he announces that he's on the Oscars, he's doing his thing, and now, all right, somebody wants to start doing some digging. Does this seem a little cynical to you?
Yeah, I think, yeah, of course. I mean, it comes with the territory. You know, I'm not saying, again, you know, I think that it is wrong that this happens to people. But if it was said, you know, again, we're now in a day and age where anything you say or do on social media can and will at some point be used against you. We've seen old people coming back you know, tweet. Now it used to be like people coming back, like sexual assault. Now it's like old tweets. What did he say about this person, that person, these people? So yeah, man, cynical to say the least. You know, and we know in America, man. I mean, and I think even with the Meek Mill interview, I have to keep talking about this because it's fresh on my mind. And Charlemagne, and he kind of alluded to certain things you can't really say in the corporate, just like now we on YouTube, you know what I mean? Charlemagne works for Power 105, Meek Mill's under a record label. They're not totally independent like that. So if they say the wrong thing about the wrong segment of people, they can disappear, you know, like that. So we're still in a struggle for true freedom, obviously. We all still, you know, scratching and clawing to get that. And not to say that we want to be free to talk derogatory or spit hate speech at anybody, you know, but and I don't agree with that. I think that I don't agree with that lifestyle per se. That's not something that I practice. You know, I'm with women, but it's just like if somebody does that and they practice that lifestyle, I don't think they should be hated, you know, or discriminated against because they practice that lifestyle. I definitely say that.
Nah, oh God, that's a fact. What you do in your bedroom or what you do on with your business is your business. You know what I mean? We sit here and very heterosexual, love women, and that's our business, and we have the absolute right to go about our business. It's just very interesting to me how, and a lot of people right now, the haters of Kevin Hart are going to celebrate this, and by no means are we celebrating this. We're very critical of Kevin Hart at times when it's just due, but right now, when he's sitting there on the height of his success, the last thing I know I personally or you want to do is see him get torn down, especially with something as weak as this, something from 10 years ago where he was joking amongst comics, where comedy itself was on a whole different level and spectrum than it is right now. Like, there was never any political correctness in comedy. You went into a comedy show and you got what the fuck it was. And it was a way to release and get away from the such of the PC that we had in the world. But nowadays, they're even trying to water down our comics. When you got Twitter really started popping around that time, he was starting to trying to build his brand, especially on social media. That's when Kev started really getting popping, especially with the social media. He was talking to comics. And it's really a shame that now he's going to be deemed, and now he's going to hear things like, oh, he's homophobic, he's this, should the Oscar thing be taken away? If that's something that he wants to do, we can sit here and talk back and forth if that's even something that he needs to do. But if that's something that was on his career level that he wanted to achieve, he can knock it off. Good for him. But let me ask you this. Do you think a lot of people in our community are going to go, I told you so, ha ha, and going to have a moment of kind of like a laughter? Because a lot of us do feel as though he sold out in a way. You could say that. I may not personally think that, but that's among the masses. A general consensus may feel like he quote unquote sold out. So do you think this is something that we're going to laugh upon or get on him about?
You're going to have some people who are going to be, you know, say, you know, how's what you get? You sold out. Now, I'm not going to say that he particularly sold out per se, but when he what was real disturbing for me when he threw that dress on and stuff. And another scene I seen him do with Shaquille O'Neal. Those two things right there, I'm just kind of, it leaves me torn, you know. But I can't say that he completely sold out, you know, like that. But yeah, you're gonna have your people who are gonna say that. I told you so. You shouldn't trying to go deal with them white people, trying to be on the Oscars with the white folks and this, that, and you sold out. And people say his comedy is not for black folks anymore. It's for white folks, middle-aged white folks, and he's the white man's nigga. All this type of stuff that people say, you know, about Kevin Hart, man. It just is what it is, man. You know, again, I'm not gonna sit up here and say what I think this person should do, that he's his own man, but you know, we know in this country, we've seen it time and time again, that when people start, you know, in particular, black people start, you know, going to different heights in whatever field, that pretty much things are brought, you know, to try to tear them down. That's just the common theme that I see. Of course, not everybody. There's always exception to the rule, but I never throw the rule away for the exception.
Facts, man. I like the way you put that. What do you think is going to be the perception in the comic world? Because he's about to get it. But in particular, my man, Cat Williams. You know what I mean? Because he's been a notorious adversary of our man Kevin Hart for a while. And he's not so flipping. And we all see Cat Williams as the first one to say that he's a dancing son of a bitch. that Kevin Hart boy. He's a dancer something. You can't even smell the fucking what's them boys he get called. You hear the quotes. So what do you think Cat Williams is gonna say, big dog?
It'd be interesting. I mean, you definitely follow him more than I do. You know what I'm saying? But it'd be interesting to see if he says. I think he's kind of scared now to put stuff up on his social media. You know what I mean, or whatever. But he knows that it's gonna catch wildfire. You know, once he says something about somebody. Not to say that he's scared, but reluctant, I guess, is sometimes. Maybe he don't want to be in the media like that. But he might just say, "I told you so. I told y'all he was a sellout. Just that he threw the dress on. You know, whatever." That's the whole theme, the common theme that's going along. But I can't really call Kevin that. I just can't, man. But yeah, Cat Williams always gives an interesting, truthful perspective on usually anybody he's talking about. It can come across as hate to some people, just like our brother T.K. Kirkland. People kind of thought that he was hating on Cat Williams because he hasn't really achieved the level. He's 50-something years old. He's not really achieved the levels as Kevin has. At Kevin being way younger. So yeah, but I don't think it's hate. I think that Cat Williams has seen some things behind the scenes, certain things, and he just bold enough to tell us about his experiences, man, in Hollywood.